Recently, the major arts institutions have formed something called the San Francisco Arts Alliance. I don't know if you've heard of this group, but they have hired lobbyists to lobby the city to maintain the status quo, and they're paying that lobbyist $90,000 a year. This was on the San Francisco Ethics Committee's, who I know doesn't have the greatest reputation, but it was on their website. So I was wondering if you had been lobbied by this organization.
No, I'm one of the supervisors that gets lobbied the least. I had like probably 4 lobby visits last year, and some of my colleagues have had numerous, like 20, 25 visits at a time.
From this lobbyist?
From
this lobbyist?
No, from various lobbyists. There's a lot of lobbyists in City Hall, so I haven't been part of that. And what I really like about this process, talking to candidates who are running for mayor, because you're putting before us a really great agenda that we can enact. And it's just we're studying on the issues and learning about the issues, and this is a great way of doing advocacy for the arts community, which is really exciting to me. And actually, it's helped me even becoming a supervisor to have relationships with people like Deborah Walker and Tony, where I've actually learned about the task force's recommendations and tried to apply them in my district as supervisor, trying to make sure we have neighborhood serving artists we have murals that are funded and neighborhood arts that are moving forward. We've had 4 art walk events in my district based on just my reorientation around artists. I've actually sponsored Poems at the Dome in City Hall 3 years in a row, bringing hundreds of poets to San Francisco City Hall. It's really great stuff we do, and I love the orientation that comes from local artists, pushing the agenda to support the arts community.
Scott and Brenda.
Without lobbyists, man.
If you hear about this lobbyist, would you let us know?
Sure.
I lobby for burritos.
Could you talk a little bit more about your ideas for mid-market and how it would get funded in case redevelopment monies don't come through?
Well, mid-market's not a redevelopment area right now.
It isn't?
No. It was discussed for a number of years to build, make it into a redevelopment area.
Yeah.
And because the developers, we were planning it and working on it for a number of years, they didn't have a very high level of affordable housing that was part of it, so that it just died on the vine. There could be other efforts to bring it back. But what's come in here is there's been a lot of work on doing infrastructure work on our roads. There's been business attraction services that have come in for arts community. There's been the mid-market tax break, the central market tax break, which I did not support. We've had entitlements on 2 major development sites, one at Fox Plaza, one at SF, just a couple blocks away, I think on 9th and Market as well. Trinity Plaza is being developed. That's brought, bringing new tenants, new vitalization to the neighborhood. So I believe there's all kinds of things that are happening to the mid-market area. There are also mid-market community benefits district. There's one by SF Mart that SF Mart is part of, and there's one that 9th and Market Street are part of it as well. There's overlapping jurisdictions right there on Market Street that are bringing resources for neighborhood greening, for social services, and for security services that I think are helping with the mid-market area. So while the city's making all these investments, I don't think it makes sense to add another level of investment that attracts businesses that are going to be coming here that could displace current businesses and current nonprofit serving organizations and residents in the city.
If the answers are quick, we have time for 2 more. Scott.
Having helped start a number of small arts organizations, I can tell you the permit process is extraordinarily challenging with meeting all the requirements. Certainly in ideas of activating blighted spaces or in temporary community projects, might you be in support or have ideas that might make some allowances within, again, temporary occupation of spaces or activation of spaces, or for art-specific organizations, trying to make that process easier, and even expressing into we've lost the live-work legislation, but maybe in ways to start re-examining that again so that we could even build our own affordable housing and not have to rely on the city. And if there's maybe some measures that are put forward in regards to that, or if you have any ideas with that might
There's
help
a lot
us.
of questions there, but let me see.
Basically,
Always looking at how we can manage the permit process to start up new businesses and organizations in buildings. It's always very complicated. I think that would be one thing by streamlining and combining departments together that have an arts function that can help make recommendations about how we can identify what the permits that are too onerous are, that can help make things happen more quickly. I actually like the ideas of doing cooperative housing situations. The city has approved one organization in the past few years that just had their the land use decisions that finalized their building. Tenants were being evicted at Columbus on Columbus Street a few years ago, and the city put in about $1 million for them to help create their own limited equity coalition cooperative. So they put their money together to buy their property together. They own it jointly. Where it's not a property that you build a lot of equity. The property value doesn't increase dramatically and line your pocket, but it helps you to invest locally. It's a way for people who don't make a lot of income to be able to buy property together, and I think that would suit artists very well to be able to, who don't make a lot of money, but who know a lot of other artists who are like-minded and creative about how to do financing. Would be a great way for sponsoring more affordable housing. I also am looking at building more affordable housing. I want to do a sustainable communities housing bond that could build apartment housing and also support existing housing to support it for retrofitting for seismic safety, or for energy generation, or for energy efficiency, and to help current property owners who don't make a lot of money, who are middle class or working class, to modify their loans so they don't get foreclosed on. So these are the ideas I have around housing as well that I think could be applicable for local artists.
Very interesting proposal to create the Department of Arts, Culture, and Creative Industries. But are you at all concerned that in putting CVB into that mix, you're going to tip the balance towards downtown, mainstream, and high-profile arts organizations?
I go back and forth about whether to include that or not, and I could see a point of keeping Convention Visitors Bureau out because I think they're more oriented towards the biggest institutions. But if we're actually combining all of them, I think there's a way possibly to even the playing field so they don't have as much of that say. They have their own domain that they work in, and there's a way you can build it in where they're not sucking up all the resources for their domain. I think it's possible to move it forward. I think that's just the analysis we'll have to go forward with. It's not easy to combine departments together. I actually am trying to do that right now with 3 offices that manage early childhood education, the Human Services Agency, ECE office, the Department of Children, Youth, and Families EC office, and First 5, and it's very challenging to make it happen. So you need some research and study to help move it forward. So I would have to move forward with some real analysis that could help look at these thorny issues about who has dominance and how do you assure equity when you start moving those forward. How do you make sure the agenda, which should be about supporting neighborhood artists and local artists first and foremost, gets carried out in that process.
And with that, we're out of time.
One more.
Quickly.
It's not a question, it's just basically, I want to thank you for your support when you were working with Chris Daly for the artist rental assistance program during the .com era where organizations were really being overnight displaced, the issue you talked about. I think better policy to avoid those kind of speculative markets is best, but when we get in them, Don has really proven he really helped craft that rental assistance program and make it happen, so thank you.
Thank you. We also funded groups like Bindlestiff as well. There's ways that we actually can, as a supporter of the neighborhood arts, we could help make their budgets more flexible by also allocating directly to.
Do you support expanding the art on site, the public arts requirement for private developers
Yes.
to citywide?
Yes,
large developers?
that's David Chua's legislation around that.
I think, is he doing it citywide?
Yeah,
Or
he's
is
doing
he
it.
just expanding the use?
He's expanding the use.
Yeah, I want to expand the
You wanna go
geographic
citywide?
area. It's
Oh.
big projects everywhere.
We have more mayors waiting in the hall.
So. Okay.
Thank you so much for
Thank you very
coming.
much. Appreciate your time.